Welcome to the next session, my dear friends. In the previous session, we have discussed the problems on disposal of sewage effluent. So now we are starting a new topic, that is solid waste management. Solid waste management. See, we generate two kinds of waste. One is the waste which goes along with the water from the house. That means if you see, whatever the washing of utensils, bathing, excuse me, cleaning of house, cleaning of clothes, whatever it may be. So whatever the waste going out along with the water is called sewage. If you look at the vegetable cuts or litter paper which is being generated by us, that will go directly into the dustbins. So we classify generally some kind of waste, we collect it and we put it in the dustbin. Some kind of waste we throw out of our vicinity with the help of water. So whatever the waste which is going along with the water, that is sewage. Whatever the waste which is going into the dustbins, that is solid waste. Okay, so that is solid waste which we can hold it and dump it. So this is a kind of important mechanism which is required parallel to the wastewater management. Solid waste management also equally important. Every day some person will come and collect the solid waste and they will process it and they will treat it or dump it at a suitable location such that it does not cause any harm to the community, and safely, eco-friendlily we can dispose it off. That is the main theme of this solid waste management. Okay, generally these solid waste management, how it works, how this solid waste management will work, the system will work. So we generate the solid waste. Whatever the generated solid waste will be collected. So by the municipal personnel, he will come and collect every day on daily basis. Collection or door-to-door collection, or sometimes on-site handling, that is we will dump the dust in the dustbins, so they will handle from there, and after collecting they will transport it. Okay, they will transport it using trucks. So after transporting, they will bring that waste to a location where we process it. So whether if there is any recyclable material is there, so that is nothing but processing, removing that recyclable material. So only which is decomposable, biodegradable, those materials we will use for the decomposing process. Okay, that is nothing but processing. And after processing, we will dispose it in a suitable way such that its strength will get reduced. Okay, it will become a stable matter. So likewise we dispose it. So these are the sequential steps in the solid waste management. These are the sequential steps in the solid waste management. Generally, we in Indians, we generally generate a solid waste of approximately 0.4 to 0.8 kg per person per day. So this much of generation we do on daily basis. Okay, this much of generation we do daily basis. And I told you already, collection may be of two types. One is bin collection, bin system, that means dustbin system, or sometimes it may be on-site handling. So there may be on-site handling, that means we will take the dustbin to the location where the big dustbins are there of the municipal department. There we will dump it. That is nothing but directly the municipal truck will come and they will handle it on site. They don't come door to door to collect the bins, or else they will directly come to the on-site dustbins and they will handle from there. Okay, that is one kind of collection. And transportation, there will be a hauling system. So they lift the on-site, whatever the on-site dustbins are there, they will lift hauling, and the compact it, they will take away. Okay, so trucks, we use trucks. And processing, I told you already, processing means, so we need to segregate this solid waste and we will remove whatever the unnecessary, that means recyclable materials and all we will remove, and biodegradable material, so far possible biodegradable material we will use for decomposition. And disposal means there are many methodologies of disposal. So that is the main criteria, because for every solid waste up to processing the method is same, only the method varies at the disposal part. So because disposals are different kinds of disposal techniques are available, so depending upon the type of solid waste that is being generated and depending upon the suitability of the site, okay, so we need to choose a proper and appropriate disposal method, okay, which is eco-friendly, which is economical, and which suits the solid waste that is being generated by the public. Okay, so let us see what is the classification of the solid waste. How do we classify the solid waste? So solid waste comes from many locations, right from the homes, households, it comes from industries, it comes from hospitals, it comes from public areas such as parks. Okay, so everywhere the solid waste will come. So we classified the solid waste from the location of its generation. So we classified the solid waste like this. Municipal solid waste. So municipal solid waste means the waste which is being generated from the household, general residential households, whatever the residential solid waste, that is called municipal solid waste. Solid waste which is of domestic nature. That is municipal solid waste. And industrial solid waste which is coming from industries. So solid waste which is of industrial origin. It is industrial solid waste. And hazardous, okay, hazardous so some kind of chemical plants and also hospitals, so like this kind of needles, medicines, these are all hazardous solid waste. Okay, so solid waste which is generated from hospitals and nuclear power plants, etc. And so these are the basic, and some more are also there. That is solid waste coming out of the open areas. Solid waste from open areas, So that is public areas. It may be bus stand, railway station, it may be a park, it may be anything. So it is open areas, which is open, access is there for everybody. So there government will take the responsibility of the solid waste collection and all. Here everywhere there we can fix the responsibility to the household, we can fix the responsibility to the industry, we can fix the responsibility to some kind of hospital. They will collect it and give. But here nobody will come and give you. So we need to collect it upon our own. So this is managed by the municipal authorities itself. Okay. So this is solid waste from open areas, and also plant waste. Plant waste is a type of solid waste. It is a type of solid waste, and also commercial solid waste, which is coming out of malls and all, schools, institutional. So the solid waste which is generated out of commercial locations, such as different kind of commercial theaters and all, that will come in this category. So these are all different kinds of classification of the solid waste. So how to analyze? So whether when we are taking the solid waste, okay, it is good. So first of all, we need to analyze that. We need to everywhere see whatever the thing we have learned so far. It may be water supply, it may be wastewater, it may be anything. We will examine it, physical and chemical properties, whatever necessary for our understanding. So those physical and chemical parameters we are determining. Here also for the solid waste, it is necessary to know the characteristics of the solid waste. I have told you already the disposal technique, how to dispose it. It depends on the properties of the characteristics of the solid waste also. So that is why it is also necessary to examine the solid waste in physical way and also in chemical way. We will understand what is the importance of that examinations, because once we see the disposal processes, we will understand the importance of the physical and the chemical characteristics of the solid waste. So let us see first. So what are the physical and chemical characteristics of the solid waste? We generally check physical characteristic of solid waste. See, we do generally, this is solid waste, either we dump it on the land and we compact it, we cover it with a litter like a earth cover. We will provide a cover on the top of this solid waste. And so this is how we generally do the solid waste disposal. That is nothing but sanitary landfilling, the name. Or else we will do it by composting. In composting also, we will send the solid waste into a trench and we will cover it up. So everywhere you see solid waste, we generally dump it into the low-lying area and we will cover it. That is one way of disposal. Other way is burning it, incineration, burning it. So when we are dumping it into a trench, so we need to know how much trench is required, how much volume of trench is required for this solid waste. In order to know that, what is necessary, you need to know what is the volume of solid waste is coming into this trench. We need to know. So here the simple concept is solid waste, you need to dump it in a trench. So what is the trench volume is required is nothing but the compacted volume of the compacted, because we will compact it after dumping it into the trench, we will compact it. So if you know the compacted volume of the solid waste, then only you can understand how much volume of the trench you need to dig. So in order to know these things, so you can get the mass of the solid waste. Mass of the solid waste you will get. That mass of the solid waste is a combination of different kinds of solid waste in it. So it is not necessarily you will get only one kind of solid waste. So you will get some solid waste of leaves, some solid waste of paper, some solid waste of wooden cuts, some solid waste of vegetable cuts, So we will get different kinds of solid waste or combinedly you will collect, isn't it? So that means the density of the solid waste is dependent on the densities and proportions of the constituents. So what are the different kinds of matter that is coming into this solid waste? Depending upon the proportion of that matter and the density of that matter, the whole density of the solid waste depends. So first thing we need to know is, first physical property we need to know is, what is the density of the solid waste? So once you know the density of the solid waste, we know the mass of the solid waste, so we can find the volume of the solid waste. And also upon compaction, this is loose volume. So upon compaction, what should be the compacted volume? How much compaction, how much volumetric reduction that is happening in the solid waste? That is again required, because we need to look at about the compacted volume to finalize the volume of the trench. So because once you dump the loose solid waste into the trench, we will compact it. So the final volume which is filled inside the trench is compacted volume only. So we need to know the compacted volume. So all these things are nothing but a physical parameters that are necessary to be understood for a solid waste whenever we are dumping it. And if you are burning it, incineration is nothing but simply burning the solid waste. We will discuss all these things anyways in the disposal part, but what is the importance of this physical and chemical characteristics on the disposal? I want to correlate them. So when we are burning it, so burning can be done only when the food or when the solid waste is having the calorific value. We already told you in the previous sessions, methane is having a calorific value. So that is why it is combustible. That is, calorific value is necessary for incineration. So chemical analysis will tell you what is the energy, what is the calorie, what is the number of joules that is present inside that solid waste, such that by looking at that energy content, we can say whether it is combustible or not, whether we can burn it or not. So those things all are needed to be understood. So what kind of disposal method needs to be followed? So that is why this physical and chemical characteristic of the solid waste is very, very important for the disposals. Okay. Now, physical examination means, so what are the different kinds of individual substances that are coming into the solid waste? Okay. So identification of individual substances, identification of individual substances, and what is the proportion and distribution of individual substances. And what is the specific gravity or density or specific gravity of individual substances which are combinedly it is solid waste. Okay. So if you know the individual substances solid specific gravity or density, we will get the density of the solid waste. I already told you in the sludge digestion during the volumetric reduction discussion, I told you a formula which we will reuse it in the solid waste management. So that is this formula, 100 by, so rho of solid waste, okay, 100 by rho of solid waste is equal to proportion of A. So this is one solid waste having a proportion of A by rho of A plus percentage B. So this is another solid waste having a proportion B, rho of B, and another solid waste is there having a proportion of C, then rho of C. So using this we can find the density of the solid waste. Similarly, if you are taking it as a specific gravity of solid waste is equal to percentage A by specific gravity of A, percentage B by specific gravity of B, percentage C by specific gravity of C. So likewise we can either use a specific gravity or we can use the densities also. In both ways we can find the density and specific gravity of the solid waste. Density and specific gravity of the solid waste. Okay. This is a very important formula which is necessary for our examination purpose. And also another important parameter we need to find is moisture content. So moisture content present inside the municipal or solid waste, any kind of solid waste. Okay, it may be municipal or any kind of solid waste. The moisture content is also needed. These are the important physical characteristics, okay, to be determined for a solid waste. Next is chemical characteristics. Chemical characteristics of the solid waste. Chemical characteristics are nothing but energy. I told you already. Energy content is very, very important for a solid waste. So energy content. Energy content of solid waste. Total, there are three types of energy here. One is total energy as discarded. Total energy as discarded, which is equal to here there will be different kinds of particles. Okay, so A, B, C, like that. So A will have different energy, B will have different energy, C will have different energy. If you look at the paper, it is easily combustible. If you look at a wooden cut, it is combustible but it takes some time. If you take a vegetable cuts, so it not at all takes any fire. Its energy content is very less. So likewise, so what are the different proportions? For example, percentage A is a proportion, it is having a energy content of EA. Okay, so by 100, this is the energy contribution. This is the energy contribution of A. Similarly, percentage B and its energy contribution is EB by 100. Percentage C, its energy contribution is EC by 100. So likewise, how many types of material is there? What is its proportion? What is its energy contribution? So by 100, because the total should be equal to 100. So that is why this proportion by 100. So if you do like this, we will get the total energy as discarded. We will get the total energy. This is the total energy. Total energy. Again, we are considering this total energy including the moisture. Okay, that means here EA is a material. If you take a water, if you take a paper, I have thrown a paper into a dustbin. So that will be in contact with any kind of moisture present in other solid waste, it will absorb it. So now whenever we collect the solid waste, we don't get every solid waste in dry basis. That solid waste may contain a small amount of moisture in it. Okay, So when we are giving energy, okay, when we are giving energy, we thought that, so simple thing here is, we need to, if you, what is energy? What is energy? Energy means for completely combusting it, for complete burning of it, how much energy is required. That is nothing but the energy it is containing. This is what we analyze generally. That is nothing but total energy. But in fact, that energy is distributed into two ways. One is to evaporate the moisture first, and then the burning of that vapor will take place. So here if you see, the energy is taken by two things, not only by the material. Along with the material, some moisture is also taking that energy. So if you want to find only materials energy, that is called energy on oven dry basis. That is called energy on oven dry basis, or simply dry basis. Energy on dry basis. Energy on dry basis is nothing but simple thing. So in this, what is the proportion of the solid? So this is the proportion percentage A. It is having moisture also in it. In order to have only about the solid, then what we need to do? So we need to remove the moisture proportion and find it. Okay. So that is nothing but total energy as discarded. Total energy as discarded by 100 minus moisture content. 100 minus moisture content. So if you do this, then you will get the dry basis energy. Again in this, after complete burning, so every solid will become ash. Every solid will become ash. So that ash will also take some energy. That ash will also take some energy. So that ash is not a solid, isn't it? Ash is not solid. So only we want the part which is burned, which is combustible. So then we call that as energy on ash free dry basis. We call that as energy on ash free dry basis. So that is equal to energy as discarded so ash is also not combustible. It is also not combustible. That is why 100 minus how much ash is developed after burning. So if you remove this, then we get the energy, exactly energy on ash free dry basis. So this is the important chemical characteristics that we need to find. Okay, that we need to find. And along with that, what is the organic matter? If you are dumping it, so this is important for incineration, burning. If you are dumping it in a trench, then we need to know what is the BOD. That is nothing but organic matter, biodegradable organic matter. So after that, what is the ash content? So whenever we burn it, what is the ash content that develops? Because moisture content we will get it from the physical property. Moisture is a physical property, ash is a chemical property, because ash will come only after burning. That is why this is a chemical property. Okay, so these are the important physical and chemical properties we need to know. We need to know whenever we treat any kind of solid waste. Now these are the, once examination is over, physical and chemical examination is over. Now how to dispose it? How to dispose it? So there are different kinds of disposal techniques are there. So every technique has its own advantage and has its own disadvantage. Okay, has its own suitability also. So depending on that, we will study each and every method of disposal and understand what is the method of disposal, why it is advantageous, why it is disadvantageous. So all those things we will learn now. So after the disposal part, this topic is over. So we will do the previous GATE questions. So disposal of So there are many methods are there for disposal of solid waste. We will discuss one by one. First one is sanitary landfilling. Sanitary land filling. So sanitary land filling means generally simple thing, very simple to understand. So we will choose a location which is low lying, which is far from the city or community, which is not at all a residential area. So there we will choose a low lying land. So we will take away all the solid waste generated in the community. So we will dig a trench, okay, a long big trench. So in that what we do, we will channelize, because we cannot use the total land at a time. So it is a very big trench. So like this. So what we do, we will channelize them. So this is one channel. So this is one channel. This is one channel. This is one channel. So likewise, we will channelize it like this. So every time we will cover it up with a earth, whatever the trench we have dig with that soil. So we will cover them on the top, so that the vehicles movement is also necessary, as well as if you expose it out, then there will be a lot of problem with the rodents, rats, insects, all those things will develop. So if you cover it up clean, if you cover it up with good brick, with good amount of earth, then what happens is we can prevent all these kind of movement. Okay, and also we have to transport the solid waste to some other locations also, which is possible only when you cover it up with good earth. Okay, so likewise generally we do sanitary land filling. Here in India, 90% of the land filling we do by sanitary land filling only. 90% of the land filling we do by sanitary. This method is followed. Okay, here the disadvantages of this method are, the main disadvantages of this sanitary land filling is, here from this sanitary landfill, okay, so whenever rain water falls on this sanitary landfill, so the rain will seepage, so the rain will seeps into this trench, and it will travel through this sanitary landfill and comes out. Okay, so whatever the rainwater that is traveling through this sanitary landfill, and it collects all the kind of poisonous matter inside the solid waste and comes out like a liquid fluid that is called lichate. So this lichate, that means whatever the fluid that is coming out of this sanitary landfill, okay, that is nothing but lichate. This is a very highly poisonous fluid. Okay, this is very highly poisonous fluid. So that is why generally this kind of fluids, that is why we need to keep it away from the communities, and also we need to choose suitably a low lying area. And to prevent this lichate also, what we do is we generally use a impermeable membrane. So we use impermeable membrane at the bottom of this trench, such that any kind of these lichates does not leak. Okay, it will be arrested inside that is a remedy for this lichate control. And also another problem is it needs lot of land. Okay, and low lying land. So these days finding land is very difficult, and that too far away from because everywhere we see some kind of residential activities going on. So finding land is continuously difficult. So if you look at the see Okla in New Delhi, so there the sanitary landfill, so it became like a big hill kind of thing. That means because of dumping again and again the landfill on the same location because of non-availability of land and all. So that is why generally sanitary landfill is the disadvantage, but the advantages are it is very simple, economical. We simply no need of technical knowledge, technical expertise is not needed that much. So directly dump it in the sanitary landfill, compact it, cover it, and go to the next bay and dump it, compact it, and cover it. That is the only thing which we do. So, and also we don't do kind of processing here. So here we don't separate the matter, which is different kinds of matters. So we don't separate them. So we will do all together. So just simply dumping it, that's it. And here in this sanitary landfilling, both aerobic and anaerobic processes takes place. In the beginning, aerobic process, it starts with an aerobic process and goes to anaerobic process and again ends with an aerobic process. Here, because of the presence of the oxygen at the beginning, so aerobic process will take place. Soon after the free oxygen is exhausted and the free oxygen availability is completely ceased, then anaerobic conditions will prevail. And these anaerobic conditions will convert that is acid formation and methane formation. Bacteria will come and they form methane again. From that methane, this aerobic bacteria uses that methane as an energy source, and again aerobic process will start at the ending after the generation of ethane. Okay, so likewise generally it happens inside the sanitary landfill. It is aerobic, the process will takes place, the process takes place both in aerobic and anaerobic both in aerobic and anaerobic okay. So that is another problem. Leachate is another problem. So this is all about the sanitary landfilling. This is all about the sanitary landfilling. And now we are moving on to the next, that is incineration. Next type of is incineration. See, incineration is nothing but simply burning in the presence of oxygen. Okay. Burning in the presence of oxygen is incineration. But the whatever the solid waste should burn, then only we can burn it. If it is not burning, then how can we burn it? So that is why generally this process is suitable only when the solid waste is having high calorific value. So this process can be adopted only if the solid waste is having high calorific value, high calorific value. But we generally in India, we Indians consume low calorific food much. In US and all, they will consume high calorific food. So that is generally incinerators you hardly find in India. So an incinerator was installed in the Delhi, but because of not getting proper solid waste into it, because I told you already, whatever the food or whatever the solid waste we consume, it will be having low calorific value. So because of which this incinerators does not suit in India. Okay, we don't have any kind of incinerators in India. Once there was installed any incinerator in Delhi, but soon after 3 to 4 years it was closed because it is not working economically. Okay, so that is nothing but incineration, simply burning. But here the problem is, during burning, so it releases a lot of air pollutants. That is again a problem in using incineration. It is not that eco-friendly. But here it completely destructs, this method completely destructs the solid waste. In any other method, there will be some solid waste will left over. See here, if you see sanitary landfilling, before digestion and after digestion, so the volume of the solid waste will reduces by 2/3. That means only the 1/3 volume will be, like how sludge digestion takes place. Similarly here also, the digested solid waste reduces its volume and compacts. Okay, and after that solid waste compaction, it becomes manure and all. We use it for crops and all. That is a common thing. So here something is coming out of it, but here nothing will come, only ash will left over. Okay, so which is of no use. So that is the only problem. That is the only thing here. We can completely destruct the solid waste. That is not a problem, but that is the special property of this incineration. Okay, whereas in other methods we don't find that. We will find some kind of end products. Here only the end product is ash. Okay, so this is nothing but incinerator. Briefly, it is not that much needed for us because we don't use much in our country. So next is pyrolysis. See, pyrolysis means, generally, if we this incineration is an exothermic process. Actually, this is an exothermic process. It gives out energy. Exothermic process, because we are burning it, we will get some kind of energy, that means heat that will come out. But this pyrolysis, it is nothing but burning in the absence of oxygen. This is nothing but burning in the absence of air or oxygen, whatever it may be, absence of air. That is nothing but pyrolysis. Okay, burning in the absence of air is nothing but pyrolysis. So here we use generally some kind of carbon matter, that is plastic, okay, like rubber, so which are non-biodegradable. Okay, so those things we generally use to do by pyrolysis. So pyrolysis, I told you already, this is nothing but a destructive. Burning in the absence of air is nothing but destructive distillation. We also call it as destructive distillation. So destructive distillation, we also call it as destructive distillation. This destructive distillation process is a kind of endothermic process. We need to supply heat during this process. This is what kind of process? This is endothermic. It needs energy. It is endothermic process. So here whenever we are doing pyrolysis, then whatever the solid waste, it will be converted into, some part of solid waste is converted into gases, like what do you say, that the different kinds of gases will come, like CO2, okay, CH4. So different kinds of gases that will come out of the destructive distillation, and some amount of liquid will generate and some amount of solid will generate. Okay, so liquids, that is liquid tar, okay, oils, and solids such as solid tar. So these kind of things, so which will develop out of the pyrolysis. So whatever the solid waste you are sending into this pyrolysis will be converting into three types, that is gas, liquid and solid. Again they will be having some amount of calorific value. Still we don't completely burn them. Again after that we need to use incineration for complete destruction of it. Here completely it won't become ash. So there will be some energetic value that will be present even after doing the pyrolysis too. Okay, so that is the pyrolysis. Even this also we don't prefer in India. So rest of the method, there are two methods left over, that is pulverization and composting. Pulverization and composting is left, that we will discuss in the next session. Thank you.